God, I love coconut water. So when you're using the levels of consciousness in your business, this sounds like a pretty mad topic, right? I totally get that. You're probably thinking, wow, that's pretty woo. I don't know if I want to use that in my business. Now, just hold on a minute. Let's get into it. It's really important to know these different phases. And this was originally shared with me by a guy called Scott Olford, who had a similar way of looking at it. And I've just looked at it in my own way. He helped formulate it in a very, very profound way. So he's a cool guy to look at for things like that. This has been some of the most powerful stuff that if you implement it, it will just allow you to almost just like move through different identities and dimensions throughout the day, which again, probably sounds pretty crazy, but let me get into it, okay? I have a couple of notes, so if you see me looking over here, this is why. I have a couple of things that are really key that I want to mention to you. And the big message I want to get across with this is that with entrepreneurship, it's very easy to think that we just need to do more. And if we just do more volume and we just have more funnels and more offers and more marketing and more ads and all these different things, and we send more messages and more DMs, then we'll just get to where we want to be and everything will be fine, everything will be perfect, and we don't need to worry about consciousness or feelings or anything. Now, it's just simply not the case. And I'm here to share why that is with you today. So there's a book called Power versus Force by a guy called David Hawkins. And I always use that as a reference for many of my videos because it's just a great visual that I'll throw up on screen as I'm talking here. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about when it comes to the map of consciousness. I'm going to more talk about this from a execution, production, and idea generation perspective instead of how to tap into different emotions, because it's all correlated, but I want to focus on that for this video. So there's different frequencies that are also in alignment with this scale. So consciousness, frequency, they're kind of saying the same thing. They're not really exactly the same, but they're kind of saying the same thing. So when we say frequency, just know that's what we're talking about. Now, when we look at a visionary, someone who is very good at generating ideas in their business, right? They have amazing ideas. They have amazing things that they can implement. They can see things from such a high level perspective. It's incredible, right? Visionaries like Steve Jobs, like these types of people are, you could say, at a very high frequency because they're generating so many great ideas. They're tapping into like higher realms of consciousness, right? Other dimensions. And that can come through a variety of ways. It can come through just deep states of meditation, getting your brain waves down to an alpha state where you're tapping into yourself and you're just in a deep state of meditation. That's probably the best way to put it. Or breath work is another way to do this as well. There's a variety of different ways. When it comes down to tapping into that kind of visionary frequency is what we'll call it for this example. What you're doing is you're starting yourself off with expansive thinking, possibilities, ways of doing things, and things that could be improved within the marketplace that give you a kind of a unique way of operating. So you become really this visionary for transformation for the product that you have or the service that you have. And it's really, if we look at it from an action perspective, we can look at it from brainstorming ideas, looking at different ways and systems to get results. It could be a variety of different things. It could be a new marketing strategy, right? If you really want to look at it from that sense, but it requires a different frequency. It requires a lot of energy. It requires a lot of thought. It requires light, right? It requires you to be at a higher state of consciousness to be able to develop those ideas. But when you develop those ideas, you also have to now execute on those ideas. And you also have to intellectualize these ideas to make them make sense to other people. So when we're moving through these different levels, the next stage down from that would be something more around the intellectual frequency or the more logical side of things. And this is a type of frequency that you're not really generating ideas in. You're more taking care of sales calls, or you're, for example, strategizing. You're kind of more grounded. You're more in the 3D realm that we're living in right now as human beings. And this is also important in business because otherwise you're someone who has incredible ideas, but then you are not executing on them because you're not grounded enough to be able to actually bring those into reality. So we're going from ideas in terms of being a visionary down to more intellectual and logical, which is grounding yourself in reality, building a structure around these ideas as to how that might look in terms of like an execution process or breaking a goal or an idea, down to monthly milestones, quarterly milestones, weekly actions, daily actions, and then time blocks, right? That could be a way of looking at it. And that is really important. Otherwise, it will never come to life. So this is very important as well. But then again, there's another level below that too, which is more of an execution frequency, which is kind of where you're in that massive action phase, which is also a key part of this. It's not that you're in a lower state of consciousness when you're executing. It's more just like it requires you to be in a different state of being. So it's not that one of the states is better than the other. It's more that you have to be able to swap between all of them at any given time to be able to bring something into reality. That's really what we're talking about here. And we're just tying it to business. So the execution frequency is more of being in a deep state of focus, right? Today, I've spent 6 hours in total writing. I'm writing out email sequences. A lot of things are going to be pre-built. I'm building some back-end stuff. 6 hours of deep focused work. It requires me to be fasted, right? I like to do it fasted. I have coconut water here that I'm just drinking, and that's going to allow me to stay in a deep state of focus and in that frequency of execution. So I'm not sitting around pondering ideas and thinking about different ways of doing things. I have other time for that. Right now, it's about execution, getting things out, working with AI and stuff like that to bring things into reality faster. But it requires a different frequency. So it starts from the top down, really, because we have to get clear on a vision and an idea of what that looks like. Then we intellectualize it and we bring it down into like kind of a strategy and a process that we can kind of break down into segments. And then it's just about execution. But they're all different types of energy and different types of frequency. So I wanted to get that across here today because it's very easy to be very intellectual about things all the time, where you're constantly thinking about strategy, you're constantly thinking about how to break things down into chunks, but then you're not allocating enough time to actually develop ideas and expand and onto the direction of the business, the vision, the mission. That's also just as important, because otherwise the intellectual side of things doesn't make sense. It's just going to be you're spinning your wheels, you're on hamster wheel. But then also you're also required to be in execution mode, because if you're always strategizing and you're always tapping into ideas, things won't move. You'll just be constantly thinking about new things to do. So it requires an execution, which requires focus, requires discipline to be able to bring that into reality. So these three phases are extremely important when it comes to business. And I've noticed this in my own life. I've noticed that me, myself, very good at intellectually doing things, very good at execution, but I need to allocate more time for being in that visionary state. Sometimes I don't allow enough time. But then when I am doing my meditation consistently and I'm able to create that space and silence where I'm not just in execution mode all the time, ideas just naturally flow. Ideas just naturally come, and then I can write them down, and then I can start to intellectualize them. And then that can turn into writing or emails or content or videos or anything like that. So wanted to share that with you. Extremely important to be able to swap between these different things. It's not one or the other. It's really being able to swap between the three depending on what is required within the business, within the thing that you're trying to actualize. And when you know that, you'll know that you'll be able to apply each one of those states of being to whatever is required for you. So if you need better ideas, you allocate more silence, more meditation, more time for that, to walk in nature, be out in the beach, things like that are going to help you formulate these things. And then once you have the idea, strategize it, build it out, plan it, build some structure around it. And then once you've done that, okay, now we have a rough plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now it's about executing. Action precedes clarity. So how can you show up and start to execute it on a day-to-day basis? And then when things get a little bit fuzzy, you go back into visionary mode. How do I formulate this? What does this look like over the next couple of weeks? So is there anything I need to change? Is this a better direction? Is this a better idea? And then we bring that into the strategy, and then we go and we execute again. So it's a constant refinement of swapping between all of them. There's no right or wrong. There's no better or worse. It's just being able to swap between all of them. So hope this video was powerful for you. If you want to work with me directly on doing these things and apply this directly into your business, check out some of the links in the description. But this has been Jordan, sending you so much love, and I will see you in the next video.